no sound is coming from Krishna. Krishna is descending. Where else is it coming from? Krishna is everywhere. So it's not like Krishna has a long way to go. No, I mean, but the sound, well, if we're not the doer, Prakriti Kriyamanani, it comes according to how sincere we are in chanting. Krishna is manifesting himself to us according to our sincerity. But where is it coming from? It's coming from our lips and whatever else. It's Krishna who's descending. Only Krishna can come. Krishna is that he's there. So where is he coming from? He's coming from himself. What do you mean by where he's coming from?
Well, when we invoke the sound, obviously the body's not chanting, so the soul is. Where's the soul in it? Like, I mean, because we're not conscious. We're not conscious of our spiritual.
Yes, we are. Of course, we're conscious of ourselves. You're not aware of the fact that you exist.
Yeah, but I mean the spirit, like the spirit.
You're the spirit soul. You're the one who exists. We're just not that much aware of ourselves.
It's not a jurisdiction of false ego.
That's all right. The soul is identified with false ego. So we're conscious of our false ego. So that much we're conscious.
No, not necessarily.
You're not conscious?
Huh?
Well, maybe if you're unconscious.
Yeah. Well, maybe you are. I don't know.
No, we're all conscious to some degree. Even there's anamaya, there's pranamaya, there's manamaya, vijnanamaya. So to some degree, every living entity is conscious. We may not be very much conscious of ourselves, but it's the self who's conscious. So to some degree, we're conscious of ourselves just by being conscious. Now, how it works, to summarize it briefly, we have the capacity to desire because we're souls. Now, if we choose the right desire, now when we took birth, along with our birth came the body and the mind and the intelligence. So in the mind, there's a whole set of desires that we've acquired from previous lives. And they arise under different circumstances. Thinking, feeling, and even willing arise under different circumstances. So, under certain circumstances, certain desires arise, and we have a choice to dovetail our capacity to desire with that desire. And when we choose a material desire, either in goodness, or in passion, or in ignorance, then we get the experience of that particular desire, the results of it. And if there is some transcendental desire, due to the fact that we've heard from the disciple succession, we can choose that desire. When we choose that desire, then we get the results of that. Then we come under the internal energy, and we become more aware of our real self, and we become more aware of Krishna. So as long as we're desiring in terms of the modes that are arising, then our consciousness is covered. And as soon as we start desiring in terms of what we've heard from the disciple succession, then we get Krishna's association and his associates' association, and our consciousness becomes alive and awakened. Just like when you put an iron into the fire, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and it becomes just like fire. Of course, if you take the iron out of the fire and put it into ice water, then it cools down until you put it back into the fire. But as long as we're keeping the iron in the fire, it becomes just like fire. So we constantly desire, in terms of becoming what the desires are arising from our disciple succession, we constantly in that fire of desire to please Krishna and through the disciple succession, and we stay in contact with Krishna, and that's called self-realization. And then it says, in intermediate, that apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram aprapravishanti advat kadva kamayam pravishanti sarve shantima notina kama kami. Person is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into an ocean, but is always being filled, but is always still, and alone achieve peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy such desire. So the person is fixed and is desiring to please Krishna and his devotees. Even other desires may enter, but he doesn't become disturbed by them, because they're seen as insignificant. They come and they go. And that's more or less like Baba. But at the perfect stage, even the desire, even these thoughts don't arise anymore. Is that right?
I was just, I'm not sure, because you mentioned earlier that we're not the chanter, you said that?
We're the desirer.
Yeah.
So obviously we choose, because we have the capacity to desire. We can hear someone chanting sincerely and think that that's very nice. Let me try to chant like that. And then Krishna will give us the intelligence how to chant like that, according to our sincerity. Because all we are is the Mahajano Yena Katasapanta, Dharmasya Tatvamni Hitam Guhaya, Mahajano Yena Katasapanta. We've chosen since time immemorial leaders, and we've been following them to the best of our ability to get what we think we want. So when we choose a leader like, say, Srila Prabhupada, and we listen to him attentively, both in philosophy and his chanting, then we can desire to chant like him, and then Krishna gives us the intelligence how to do it. But independently, we don't know what to do. One time I asked Prabhupada, I said, if Krishna wants me to do something, and Krishna doesn't want me to do something, how do I know what Krishna wants me to do? That's what his Paramatma realized at that time. So Prabhupada looked at me and started to laugh. He said, you won't know what to do. He said, you'll do the wrong thing. So we don't know. We have to hear from the authorities and then try to do what they ask us to do. And then Krishna will give us the intelligence what to do. So where does it come from? It comes from ultimately hearing from higher authorities and then Krishna giving us the intelligence what they're saying as the super soul. Is that clear? What's that?
Sometimes I sit and I'm chanting and I'm thinking that, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, but at what point is the sound initiated? I mean, is it like,
Well, if you really want to get technical, there's a technical explanation on different levels of hearing. Beyond just our hearing when we vibrate sound, there's also hearing within the heart. I think there's 5 different levels of hearing. But I don't think we have to worry so much about that as just listening to the holy name. One time I was with Prabhupada, we went to a university of monks, Christian monks, and they were into meditating on the holy name. And Prabhupada gave a whole explanation how our process is not meditation, it's hearing and chanting. So I don't think we have to worry so much exactly what level, where it originates and things like that. Maybe that will be revealed to us later on. But if we just chant very nicely, as nicely as we can, it's probably like a child calling out to his mother. A child calls out to his mother out of separation and love. With some anxiety, loving separation. If we just try to chant as nicely as we can and listen as attentively and openly, submissively as we can, I think that's about the best we can do. And then just avoid all the distractions as much as possible, not become influenced by them, and just going hearing and chanting as nicely as we can. And then gradually we'll see that the distractions diminish. And when the distractions diminish, we shouldn't think, wow, now the distractions have diminished, now I'm free from all suffering, now I can enjoy again.